Bonjour. Huh. Today we'll be reading a lovely French and fairy tale, Beauty and the Beast, retold and illustrated by a lovely author and illustrator, Jan Bratt. Once upon a time, there lived a merchant's daughter, so lovely and kind that all who knew her called her Beauty. She lived with her father, her and two sisters in wealth and without worry. Then the merchant had met with great losses, and the family, suddenly penniless, fled to a country cottage. The man and his children were forced to do the work of peasants. Two of the sisters could all remember their fine life, and cried and grumbled. But Beauty, he worked on bravely, and tried to comfort her father. Time passed until one day a news came that one of the merchant's ships, has long lost, had, had arrived in port, hoping to restore his fortune, and the merchant decided to meet the ship. Before leaving, he called his three daughters to him. He asked them what they missed the most of their old life, as he wanted to bring back a present for each. The first sister asked for rich gowns, since her closet had now held only rags. The second asked for a coach and four horses, since she was now forced to ride upon a donkey. But Beauty, he only asked for a rose, since the garden was now taken up with cabbages. Upon reaching the ship, the merchant had found the cargo spoiled and worthless. Poorer than ever, he could not afford a night's lodging, and was forced to return home through the threatening weather. He pushed through a deep forest until the snow covered the track, and he was hopelessly lost. Just when he felt he could no longer go on, he saw an avenue of orange trees untouched by the snow, and beyond them a grand palace. As the merchant approached the palace, the doors opened before him. Inside, he found himself in a grand hall with a blazing fire and a sumptuous meal waiting. Strangely, he saw no one about. Oh, that's a very realistic statue. Is it a little too realistic? He dined and soon fell asleep in his chair. The next morning, the merchant awoke to find his wet clothes replaced with fine garments. Again, he saw no one, no master, or servant, or any person in the house. When he stepped out to go home, he met another kindness. A magnificent horse fitted out for a journey. He stood waiting for him, almost as if he'd been expected. Just as he was about to mount the animal and be on his way, the merchant and spied a bed of beautiful roses. Remembering his promise to Beauty, he knelt to pick one. No sooner had the stem snapped than the merchant had heard an angry roar. Turning around, he saw a fearsome beast. He's coming towards him. "How dare you harm my roses!" bellowed the beast. "A rose that's cut can only die!" Reaching for his sword, the beast cried, "You shall pay for your ingratitude with your life!" The terrified merchant fell to his knees. "I have only taken this rose as a gift for one of my daughters, the faithful Beauty." Hearing this, the beast stopped to reconsider. At last he growled, "I will spare your life, but only if one of your daughters willingly returns in your stead." The merchant, unable to agree to such a bargain, and, promised the beast he would return, and, then rode home to say goodbye to his children. It was a somber homecoming, for after the merchant and gave Beauty the rose, he told the story of the grim beast and his awful punishment. But Beauty, he would not hear of her father's return to the palace and certain death. After all, he would have never plucked the rose if it weren't for her. She made up her mind to go once in his place, and so strong was her resolve that the merchant could not dissuade her. Father and daughter arrived at the palace of the beast, and the towering doors are open again as if by magic. They entered the great empty hall, and fear took hold of them. They heard the sound of footfalls and saw a creature, her part man, part animal of the forest, move towards them. Overcoming her fear, her beauty stepped forward. "Good evening, my lord," she said. "Good evening," replied the creature. "Do not call me my lord, for I am a beast, and you must call me so." Not knowing what else to do, Beauty nodded. Then the beast presented the merchant with a casket containing a fortune in coin and jewels. "This will restore your house handsomely," he said. "So now be gone." And with that, the beast walked off into the shadows. The merchant bade a tearful farewell to Beauty. Then the great doors opened once more. He rode away, leaving Beauty quite alone. Then Beauty began her new life in the palace of the beast. It soon became clear that she was in no danger, and that she was free to amuse herself in any way she wished. She wandered of the rooms and explored the galleries. Each provided a delightful new experience for her, as if her tastes were already known. A troop of monkeys all in her dress, has appeared to serve her. Her a charming little dog did duty as her page. In fact, animals of all sorts took the place of gardener, cook, and gamesman. A beautiful bird led her to her bedchamber. Her and Beauty saw that the room was filled with her favorite things and was thoroughly comfortable. Look what's woven into this tapestry. It says, "Be guided by your heart's gratitude." Hmm. Except for them being people, all this matches the picture, doesn't it? As evening approached, candles throughout the house lit up by themselves. When dinner was served, heard animal musicians play sweet music. It was then that the beast appeared. Beauty drew back fright, and at the thought of dining with the creature. But the beast's courtly manners disarmed her fears. After dinner, the beast reassured her Beauty with calming conversation until it grew late. Then the beast became solemn. At last he turned and said, "Beauty, will you marry me?" Beauty, lowering her eyes, replied, "Pray don't ask me that." And look over here, another tapestry. It says, "Do not trust to appearance." And here are two more. The one over here says, "Your happiness is not far away." And one over there says, "Courage, Beauty." The days afterward followed pretty much the same pattern, and they passed happily for Beauty. Daylight hours were filled with amusements, and Beauty started to look forward to dinner time and her nightly talks with the Beast. His thoughtful way began to win her trust, but she always dreaded the moment when he took leave, for then and he would always ask, "Beauty, will you marry me?" And it grew more and more painful for her to look for her eyes and say, "Pray, don't ask me." I think she's starting to fall in love. Let's see what happens next. Then, a day, it came that passed so happily that when the Beast came to her, Beauty spoke of her great joy. "The flower, how is it? And the garden, and have never been more beautiful." Well, she said, "and the musicians have never played so sweetly." The Beast asked again for her hand, and with a tender hope that she said, "I cannot marry you, Beast, yes, but I will indeed stay here of my own accord as long as I shall live, if you will grant me one request. First, let me say goodbye to my father and the world I leave behind." The Beast agreed to this, although a mournful look came over him. He gestured to the crescent moon and said, "Before the moon is full, O faithful Beauty, he returned, or, or you will break your poor beast heart. He gave her a golden ring and said, you wish to come back, turn this ring hang 3 times around your finger and say aloud, oh, I want to be in the palace of the beast again. Within the instant, and Beauty, he was back in the house of her childhood. She saw her father bartering for good as of old. Her sister were ordering their maids about as in former times. Finding Beauty in their midst, they all flew her in amazement. They asked her question and after question and about her strange life in the palace and about the monster who ruled there. Her Beauty tried to explain her admiration and for the beast and all the wonders of the palace, but they didn't understand. They see him please is when the conversation flowed back to the social life of the town. Beauty's family is rich again, and, and question though, um, will he forget her beast? The following week went by in a whirl, laughing, and young man kept Beauty to go out for her walks or rides. Her father escorted her to concerts and the opera, um, and her sister presented her with a list of engagements that began with dress fittings and ended with fancy balls. There wasn't a moment left in the day for her to think about the distant palace and the sad, ugly beast. Beauty forgot her promise to him. One night, after much gaiety and dancing, Beauty was exhausted. She fell into a fitful sleep. And as she slept, she dreamed. She was back in the palace garden, and now strangely dark and cold. She was searching and searching, looking for something she had lost. Then she saw the beast lying on the ground, still as death. Beauty awoke from her dream. He was stricken with grief, but at last knowing her own heart. None of the young man and she had met, none of the things she had done had meant to her as much as the time she shared with the beast. Uh-oh, full moon. You remember? Or what the beast said would happen? Beauty turned the golden ring 3 times around her finger and said, I want to be back at the palace of the beast. I hope she can make it in time. At once she was transported through the night to the palace gates. Guided by her dream, she flung them open and ran into the garden. There she found the still form of her beloved beast. Fearing that he might he left this world, old Beauty, he dropped up to his side, and taking the beast in her arms, and she gave way to her sorrow. Oh, her tears raining down upon his furry head, worked to revive him. and he was able to open his eyes and look at her. At this, she implored him, "Dearest beast, you must be strong so you can live. So then he can be man and wife, for I love you so." When these words were spoken, and the world began to whirl around them, stars fell from the sky, and the palace illuminated as if by 1,000 candles. Before Beauty stood not the beast, but the radiant face of a handsome young prince. And for in pledging herself to the beast, his Beauty had unlocked a fantastic spell. Taking Beauty's hand, the young prince explained of all the curious events to her. Some years before, a meddlesome fairy, he displeased with people while trusting too much in appearances, had cast a spell all over the palace and everyone in it. All the servants were changed into animals, and the prince was made to look like the ugliest and most fearsome beast in the forest. The spell would only be broken when a beautiful woman forsook all others and promised to marry the beast in spite of his appearance. And that's what he had done. There was much rejoicing within the palace that night, but no one was happier than Beauty and the prince. They were married the very next day and went on to live happily ever after. Fun fact about this story, it was actually based off a real event. A French girl fell in love with a boy who had a hairy appearance as due to a genetic disorder. But they got married and happily ever after. Just like Beauty and her Beast. Well, I hope you like that. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, au revoir.